The first person who doesn't think about it is Alessandra, Master Qin, and Marcus was accused of being injured for a long time, becoming an immortal master of ghosts. Giving his son's face was raised by a wild man and turned into a violent ancestor of the Lang clan. The human beings who were inclined to be considered historically turned into primitive men who were rational in the market and could not restore their human form. The third sold the police gene to continue as an ordinary human being in society. Once Marcus. The two to Tongji world find the silent message and transform it into a vampire. He intends to use his resources to find the powerful face, but Quan Mao, who is far beyond Ma Mushi's expectations, not only refuses to lose face, but instead. And the virgin face, who was carefully set up a trap and was out of control, tried to produce Marcus, the life and death crisis. Marcus concentrated on his birthday, and scattered a big tomorrow, and died with enough food. All the aftermaths will follow. In order to avoid risking tracing and compromise, he built a secret prison in a few north places and asked for respect for Walian forever. Subsequently, the three elders established a system of ruling blood ghosts outside the iron-blooded hands. For the sake of the tyrants and Aphelion, the mom who has been seeking for 100 years has been fighting for the liquid. However, during the reign of the tyrants, the mom who has been seeking for progress has actually taken on a human's silver shore. Instinctively want to execute this kind of person, but in the end, he changed his ideology and said that the words first are different, and the primitive people actually have different powers. He has the help of his relatives and can travel in humans. The werewolf forms are freely shortened, and the age data is so easy that he can easily learn about hundreds of economic warriors. Symbol news officials press, each intending to force him out of his violent situation. It must be human. One death creates a new relative controllable race. The werewolf. They were brought on a special iron incense circle. The inside is 1,000 deadly. Once they transform, they will penetrate deeply into the international community. The transformation of the seed death caused special abilities, such as first or in the upper class of the treasure, they become one. Although the blood price is respected, the virus it spreads is in the tribe near the castle, and it blows up a large number of vicious primitive werewolves, as strong and independent as Kito's daughter Su named. Often sneaked into Langern to lead the emperor, exploring the world of father's first thing. Once he sat up and was frightened, causing him to enter the throne of primitive Langern. The soldier's mother's body was difficult to hit the beast of the warring festival, so he suppressed his life. Luxian, who is in the hand, stands on a high place, and the gate of the castle is breathing at Wang Hunbai, Lucian and Taiju. In the time of the lightning, the flight was pulled out from each other, and hit the vital point of the last werewolf. Although he saved Sonia first, the tall Shishu gave the princess only a cold head. Instead of expanding a certain test, just make your iron. Work hard is not what you should care about. When Xuanyan comes from it, you can have more false discussions on Xuanji's daughter. I want to be a new village and a random flower wind turns. Then I put this symbol there. Let people talk and werewolf that night to test the body. Only by watching the death can people recover. A seed of freedom was knocked in his heart, oppressed and stopped. I saw several werewolves trying to take a break and immediately met. The silver scattered and ruthlessly pulled it. Several times the people around the Nei Bay dripped their heads numbly. At this moment, Lucian stopped again and left. The werewolf who ended the prison at night returned to the Yin dungeon, and waited for them only to find dry water. When the dragon shone on the castle in the dark, it was as if you were to observe it with caution. This week, knock on the secret path leading to the city treasure under your feet. Sonia, who had her hands climbed to the bottom of the mountain, was shaking her skin, waited earlier. Her previous indifference was nothing more than a tail suit, and she returned to the princess and werewolf to work harder. Luo Xing, who has been filled with light, has created a decisive thing to untouch the circle, he will tell you. Interested litter. Thank you to Gai Jun Langren and Qin Nashi's descendants for feeding my tribe warriors. As I will take you away from the certificate, but this secret moonlight appointment has been carefully thought about the secret scholar Tinus. Why do they often attract Sonia and Tinus on the ashes? Instead, he helped him lie and seek protection at the same time. He worked hard now. He received the mandate before his death. Before leaving, he said that Sonia should not go. because he heard a wolf laugh last night, but the signal of the primitive werewolf gathering. But Sonia did not listen to Rushian's words. He was too lucky to warn Rushian, so he should pay attention to Sonia's eyes, dark cross extreme knowledge. Please ask for a secret and send a message outside. The wolf outside contains consciousness and is completely full of old orders. If you first pass the guest to the city bag, you are asking for troops to send troops. Where are you? But how is the first one possible? Follow the orders of a sad and hardworking effort. In this issue, Rushin, the game has reached multiple numbers, and the crazy way to catch up with Sonia. His family team fell into the so-called primitive werewolf shocking story. The werewolf with a slasher was wolves outside attracted attention for Yangon. The wolf clan Jingwei, who had been under Songren Nitu, had been instantly filled with the proof of the later verification. In the sound of the remnant teaching, I have black people working hard, thunder and wealth, people are on the flat side, the sound is like the moment, like the heart, flying, spreading into the battle group, and knocking out often, domineering blood. The werewolf with slippery head and feet is called Chaos. Turn the sand urine to Mabe to protect the ground guide deep in the case. Watching Earth Guide's office was wolves. Urine repulse flip value secondary please continue everything. Rui high from the moon to accurately penetrate the werewolf's head, and Rui separated and pulled Sonia out of the tunnel. But the surrounding wolves opera team did nothing. They will. I was primitive werewolf silk. The line of life and death is like ignoring the lock bird's persuasion group first. Opening the circle when escaping the medicine, suddenly burst out, and a drum of fish persuaded the net to come slightly, such as. The fire spread out, instantly suppressing the primitive man who was watching blood around him. Wiki seemed to be lifted, and a camp like a reading class, and everyone knew it as heartfelt, Victor. Here I felt that Sonia was extremely blindly rushing to explain, such as some people who had to untie the circle of things to save him. In his eyes, Lucien's application was just trying to live up to the same orders, and he missed his authority, and stood by. The dark collar was cut and adjusted on the ground, and the key was hidden. Why has it been said that all the efforts have been made? Baikito will first scrape the price of the Sonia residence, ordering all men to work hard to care. The person who is concerned is the supervisor who did not deal with him at the time. Like the heart, it is comparable to the same. I looked at it, and my eyes were raised with a high height on the window. The first side fell, and the skin opened into the battle, and it was deeply visible. It was a silver pot, which stopped me from paying attention. If I first invited the door tightly, the Russian head would pay the opportunity lightly. Wang Renjitang didn't make any sound. Viscount Sonia was worried that she had a werewolf and couldn't bear to watch it anymore. She wanted to leave and was beaten by the video. In the end, even if Sean's comrades in arms could not be restrained, he was bullied and easy to teach. When he was in the square of the death, he was as bloody as if he was returned to the dungeon first, and was locked up with human efforts. The tribe members did not dare to approach him without monitoring the supervisor, and did not give him any water to the piano. After the course, the rout made a bitter joke with his future floor. No wonder I'm not. At this time, the upper floor of the castle, the human nobles brought a lot of money to seek more, and the one who can protect the princess is the first to send a man to the man. The square and farmland were closed and chaotic, causing a large number of workers to be transformed into life, and production fell to a standstill. I listened to their love balls. My eyes were pounding blue. She was no longer satisfied. The yellow star who looked at me. Instead, I directly tried to open my mouth, and I wanted to cross the farm and half of the shares. This was unintentional, and the nobles naturally couldn't agree. They even found out the identity of the Kodo's ghost during the conversation. Flying and fleeing, Victor executed the leading rebels on the spot, smiling tightly, and taking a deep smile to the dungeon. As if Sean was injured and thoughtful, he was full of his own principles. New opera reminds Sonia that you will choose to hide what you have found out about us. You will definitely have a deep journey. Yesterday, I followed New Opera's advice and found Tiny's, pointing it in one shot, and taking it to your future for a while. So far, I exchanged Chilma for him to keep a secret. You not only agree, but also take charge of a proof message. For many, I will execute Lu Xian in the early morning of the fourth day. So you want to return to the dungeon. The specific time of the sleeping time of Waikito and Jinwaijin told Lu Xinren, and decided that 3 days later, Cheng's escape line would meet. When Sonia left, Tiny said on the high ground, Lu Xinren said, "Let's return. Use great suit and force respect the rules of admiration." The efforts sent by the new Johara profession were forced to do so for many things. The transformation into the Lang people has further increased their hatred for Victor Tito. More and more people are willing to follow the first. Business workers are in a good mood. I found that if the old door is open, I hurriedly stepped into the old house. Rushin, who was One Piece, rushed forward and his hatred would be quick. He would definitely be sore that the 9 people who looked at blood would burst out with terrifying power. The werewolf used the supervisor's key knowledge to open the prison door and reported that the Battle of Freedom was officially launched. However, an werewolf who was too excited accidentally encountered Taitong and moved his hands, with the dense promise peace, with strength. It's like a blind small passage. The blue man died for a while and the so-called captain's experience is old, and he will immediately set all the long rumors to the point where the passage is interrupted, and then instantly form the long rumors, with Rayleigh's long rumors. The old man's death strong will use the following to be behind the werewolf's dead blue. If there is no way out, he can only take a part of the werewolf to retreat to Kaiyang and upgrade the werewolf who escaped from the castle. It is safe to catch up with him. Yang Guanzhua also finds it difficult to calm his current wise power of the 2 kings. The more you expect the failure of the werewolf to be redetained, checking the circle of the new open. Someone knew that the treasure house was too ruling, and the new one was in his throat. He didn't dare to have no. 4, and hurriedly brought him to the military order library and flew on the table to make a certificate. Finally, he took out the aid key and gave it to Victor. Although he thought he had done nothing, Victor's eyes were blocked with his eyes. If he had no inner strength, he would be able to do it. When the forces fled, Victor personally searched Rushin's body in Xinjiang. After discovering the secret passage from the inner sword to Chengwai, Victor broke into Sonia's room. It was better to lose and forcefully lose to the national police. The secret love between Sean and even the unspeakable things are integrated into Kudwa's mind, and the learning to buy a quilt that is super expensive, and the huge feeling of eating is swallowed. A single plan used the subline of the mind to liberate the clan. He asked Lazy to find those layers of shells to suppress more. The human aristocrats hated and Xinhuiyuan told them that men need blind friends. If you first step into the deep forest of the primitive Lanrenpanji, the blood-type smell of agriculture in the air. On the other hand, the brothers' eyes were in the hands of the primitive werewolf, and the party was in front of Rushian, and the eyes were sharp like a knife. The king of Junling Tian started to order the other party. The sympathy is sincere. A 3-day appointment is a mechanism that goes forward, if the one who waits first is not Sonia. But Sonia was asked to know more about everything and was about to act violently against him. If the early Thunder Chicken is wise, it is tight and still goes to rescue without hesitation. If he is the master, if I don't return, you will be in your new hand. To evaluate the familiarity of the terrain, like the heart, bypassed the hand. I was about to leave the secret passage, but I didn't know that I had already added a lot of turmeric oil to the secret passage. After enduring the ignited goods, the bear also followed the ranks of the surveillance team, and the only escape route. The two were forced to fight for a colorful dance pen from the exit of the seriously ill handle. Shen Jian broke out, "Lu Xian, is it brave?" A cargo cutter wanted to open a bloody road for Sonia's shop, but was first met with the sutra, and the round was turned into a merit, and he did not pass the number 4 at all. The empty scene with the electric body was not mentioned, and the mid-range tube was not mentioned. What I thought was the same as before, and I wrote the same writing with the Western Japanese. Zania also turned around and was slapped hard by Gudwa. Zania drew her sword to face her father for love. She felt heartbroken for Kudwa and left room for action. Reversely seek repression. Knocking the hand and sending coins, Meng Ran was in charge of Sonia, and his reaction hand controlled Sonia. He originally planned to die if he was out first, locking up his daughter. The long distance of life made Sonia look down on him, but now he is pregnant with a werewolf child. Even though it was a miracle of the two races for hundreds of years, he could not protect his daughter in a while. In the cold dungeon, the two of them rarely gained a readable cohesion, but their soft eyes were broken. I walked yesterday like some wooden fishing line. Jiang Xianjian suddenly got involved and suppressed his strength. He listened to him for a while. The members were looking at the public opinion. The past supply of the foot was unanimously high. Noble learning to buy something is inclusive. Sonia looked at her father with deception. Victor was expressionless, and was struggling with pain in her heart. This article overwhelmed the love for his daughter, and was sentenced to death. What's even more cruel is that I just talked about the editor of the deputy family. Then he was forcibly fixed directly opposite Sonia. Why did he let his lover see with his own eyes and be shining with the sun? And he said it was as quiet as the air, and only other lovers were left. The huge mouth view is still open. The sunshine in the middle of noon is clear. Yesterday, when the newcomer Lu decided to be a gray mirror. At this time, Victor was suffering huge pain alone in the room. This was the superior. He could no longer see any feelings in front of anyone. The Amitabha Shuiling Victor stepped into the hall again. I endured my heartache and turned to my daughter's project, ordered my subordinates to take the knife, and I should be as clear as my heart again. If he ignores a fatal key, today is bind you. The old man's power is the most powerful knowledge, as the heart. Please send 2 people to the outside world, and the locked face of the tyrant, and break under the violent force. He will turn to the extra cost, grab Sonia's object, and be sufficient to become a foreign elite Japanese general. A silver sword accurately cut off his feet. The huge pain and silver poison made the silver sword fall to the ground. But he had a bottle of sword with complete will. Cheng Chan climbed up with difficulty. The endless sorrow and the unrestrained promise. Then the middle guide was Cheng Nuku again. It ignited the unity of the Nahoi that has been suppressed by the Lang tribe for hundreds of years. The primitive man took the lead in launching the death-fighting wind. This time, we led our tribe members to follow us. Werewolf tribes were in the Qing dynasty and left no way out. Big Table turned around and retreated into the castle. Primitive werewolf. Werewolf profession was easy to escape the road. Quickly, the strongest in industry and commerce. The army was beaten to the point of being beaten. The former members of the army were found by the primitive man's silk tax in the court. Reese found Lu Xian, and the 8 dialects were welcome. Lu Xian ordered him to release the tribe members in the prison. At the same time, he was hurt and thought. Seeing that the castle man was trapped, he planned to take away the precious Wanzhou, but was stopped by Kazuhiro. He ordered him to transfer first. Marx and Amria passed the pass and took the crime for Kudwa's 5 equipped coach. Recover the strength of the snail fresh snow before the test. The rules are common in the front from high altitude. Under January 2, I am ready to find a single fight. However, the next second he ran away with the dignity of the elders. In fact, he was running away in front of life and death. The man chased him closely, and suddenly broke out from the darkness, and the man was beaten to the point where he was beaten. Both of them believed that the other party was the murderer who killed Hunyan, and under the trend of hatred, both sides launched a private killing. Ruxin's anger was completely ignited and no longer silenced. It was completely based on the life of the country. Ruxin seized the opportunity, and the Qi world suddenly appeared. Why are there many hands strong? Why do you check more circles and sneak attacks? I discussed too. Lu Xian is ready to explore the map. It is necessary to charge more blinds. It seems to press and exit. Lu Xian, please let him ask for it. Cheng Kong. The kicking is unprepared. The meridians and mouths are adjusted, and some people turn their heads back and follow them back into the sewer. In the passage of the lost air, the 2 of them stationed again. Why did Chen Ruxin break the iron chain at first sight in order to stabilize the application? But unexpectedly, the warning above was opened first. The light was slightly exposed and the golden hole was extremely golden. The deserted people were separated and pulled Dong Kai to practice. The Donko Konsaini above exaggerated the sunshine bones and the erected parts were torn into Sirius. The action of choice is for many. For example, Sean's double-horned light will be for many. It will throw out its iron face and tie it up. Long live a life of anger. like Sean's gray movement is common. It is always free and free. This road pushed it into the evil underground river and was revenged, like a westerner who was wearing scars and a pipe, could walk out. The battle outside Qingbao's outside has subsided, and the wolf clan spirit has aroused victory, looking at those. These cheering compatriots, such as the people's hearts, are free and unifying, and the price is indeed thought of using the scene, and the strips in the tight hands, tied with the grey love of the lover, repeatedly. You can still feel the remaining temperature. But Chenroan and Victor were not really dead, so I saw Insi rescue him. Victor, after entering the customs clearance, 300 years after the long tax abolition and recovery. Victor has always been in the group. The first General Kalaiwan will defeat Rushin and become the first person to sit down. In one fell swoop, Victor personally set up the Death Walker to unfold the werewolf in the village. This century has been the Battle of Amelia. But there are many that should have been the program of the audience forever. But it was replaced by a fierce attack on women, which has never happened in 14 centuries. But the celestial being with wolf leader, such as Sean, who had died for 600 years, was still alive, hearing this basic name. For more, there was a fight between the vampire and werewolf. 600 years ago, the battle was so great that Rushin's death was in high school. The Wolf clan never proved it since then, but just a few days ago. However, Sherman LA's team encountered 10,000. Because his subordinates were too close, they were accidentally exposed by the werewolf Lei Zixio. A big battle began underground. What shocked Sherlin Law for Hot Pot was the same. All advanced weapons are in chaos. A heavy shot of the handrail is next second. The bullets begin to emit a difficult light from the inside of the body like a flame. Let the vampire become a slight cover. The curtain in front of you. The machine gun that Shunning knew about the werewolf could not only stop them from transforming, but also turn them into killing them. Reese had a bad experience. I hurriedly escaped with the wolf boy, and I could only chase him separately with my subordinates. The same half of the estimation was successfully completed and the thunder was successfully invested, but the thunder qualifications were endless. A blogger who directly inserts into the Western Ghost. Hate will arise. Please then Lazy's eyes turned silver gray. Someone stole the coat, and continued to turn sharply, and was still bluffing. The Lazy, who had completed the transformation, instantly became a shattered group. On the other side, Selingna tracked the werewolf and came to a sewer channel, and he looked around vigilantly. The werewolf was about to attack, but he turned around and finally stepped forward without guns until he confirmed that the other car plane was dead. At this time, Slyn noticed that the werewolf's weapon was a kind of information he had never seen before. Before I could think about it, a sudden laugh came. The battle ended with thunder from the water to the mouth, and the 4-digit 2 backhanded one was the 4-point silver flying flag. He said that the other party was paralyzed again. This leader ran desperately into the depths. A chaotic private killing instantly attracted his attention. It sounded like there were at least hundreds of Geelong people. Seeing that Lazy is getting closer and closer, Israel can only give up for too long for the time being. This is the base where the werewolf hides you. Both ends have become werewolf at the angle. They are returning to the most primitive contest even? It has long entered the era of science and technology. This kind of perspective of acting is still their way of proving themselves. Otherwise, with a gun, the wolfmen stopped and looked at the man, the young wolf, who was walking down the camp. This man is the werewolf leader Aryushinin. Not only did he not die, he even hid in the dark and was catching a big conspiracy. Looking at these subordinates who were only a few savagely, Rushin suddenly seemed to be there. In fact, I was so angry that I didn't dare to be alone when I returned to Jubao's spirit. He only found a weapon expert and asked him to study the werewolf's hand wall. After some experience, the weapon expert confirmed that the sun was inside. The front rushes to the vampire's death line. Even the faintest light can eventually get them closer once it is left in the body. S.E. Lingda suggested that Cramlin send someone to Su Gang's authentic Taoist decays. As the 28th poem of the family, Craven was in charge of all affairs during the ruling elder Amelia's outing. However, he did not take any care of what the funds said, but in order to prevent the funds from rising again. Is it that he or she sent the handrail to investigate? The big one of the color spirits was full of all the palms of Craven, because Craven always led his tribe members to enjoy life excessively during this period and never really cared about it. So he decided to personally investigate the photos taken by his classmates, which clearly shows that Langren was following a human being in the forest. Langren had no reason. But I was very unhappy with the same human being, but I came to the file setting to investigate secretly. He just wants to set up the dress above the fantasy to stand beside him to attend the party. 2 days later it will be Amelia. The last day of direct certificate. Even if he will wake up Mr. John Marcus, tonight's wish meeting was rehearsed to celebrate this. But Lin Loching had no intention of attending any dinner. He just wanted to. When the werewolf was in the center, he found the man's ruler through the internet and decided to ask clearly. The commander told him to get the man home. However, before he could ask further, the obedience suddenly broke and learned halfway. There are also waves of wolf, the wall-style lies. The man took the opportunity to get to the elevator, waited for the color to catch up, and the werewolf had reported him to him for dozens of days, Sunday. A few plates of unboxing were organized to move forward, but the number was too large. Please remember that he pulled the machine round after round until he pulled the floor several rivers. The man here also arrived at the next time, and various elevators were opened. At this moment, the color spirit was difficult to feel in time, so because of the unboxing design, such as some deep and heavy quantities, it was really hard in front of the island of Vancouver. Little Mike's neck, hurry up and ask Mike to go away here. She didn't know that the man in front of her was the Wolf King Ruxing. Ruxing was not in a hurry to chase him, because her purpose had reached Mike's blood. You have already reached the count. Then it drove 1 or 6th internal forces to force the bullets out of its body. The Wolf King didn't rush to let Ian stay in his body easily. At this time, Celinda took the granule machine to sell granules. After leaving here quickly, the Wolf King immediately opened a few ropes and jumped onto the roof of the car. She was about to teach her a lesson to the Sia ghost who had hurt her. It was random, often pierced the Iron Doctor and hit it accurately. I see Lingna's shoulders. The strong and huge pain did not mean that the Lingna lost her cold wisdom. Instead, it calmed down the car. Jiang Fuxian fell off the bottom of the car. Then Hongbun Jiang's car arrived and pushed out the citizens and then a small horse. The bottom of the platform was full of firepower and hit it, but he still wanted to see the strength of the wolf. Fortunately, Ruxing did not continue to chase after him, so the two of them asked for one. Seeing that the wounds that were preserved by S.E. Ling were still studying abroad, Mike kindly stepped forward and said that he stopped the car for treatment, but S.E. Ling was sent. That hand was pushed away in Sherlin's heart. He was a Western study ghost and left some snow in the next second. Mike picked up a pistol and broke the car at the bottom of the cold lake. Under the strong pressure, after thousands of dark sunlight outside the chest and the characters breathing, Forrest finally woke up slowly. Mike on the side was also married to you because of overwork, but something appeared in his mind. In the picture, I didn't know that Ruxin's memory will carry the original owner's memory after being bitten by the werewolf and the Shira ghosts, so they will also use this method to convey information, and at the same time, Ruxian. Today, the proposal was handed over to the Lang tribe scientists. After seeing this, the scientists were ecstatic and eager to start the experiment. The results were as successful as expected. For 600 years, Wuxian has been taking the ethnic group. Dogs live in the dark in order to have a trick to completely fight the white vampire in one day. They use special humans as containers to fuse the werewolf and the vampire's blood and bless them. Then, create a new owner. But the amount of health just now was already being consumed, and they had to catch Mike again. At this time, Mike had been taken back by Snake Lina, and the whole house was moved. Western learning tracks were all interested in the La Lin La, thinking that it was difficult for many years, so La Lin La finally started to knock on it, which made the 4-bedroom colleges in the south so angry that they were very angry. He thought that the little male dog brought back from La Lin La. He gave him a kind of cuckold, and for this reason he put his face in the mirror and did not allow a step to leave his room. As for the sour ice cold, Mike was definitely very interested. He knocked on the room before entering the room, but waited to get Mike's clothes first. What is the prescribed principle? I didn't have time to think about it anymore, but Xiao Ming out. I bought a person and opened the window directly, jumped down, and then escaped from Gubao. It seems that when I saw Qin Shao escape, I was very ruthless in the forest. I couldn't figure it out. It was stimulating just the location. Thinking of adding the table, he met such a selfish ruler, so he could only find out the truth. At this time, the weapon expert came over and told Sherlin that good news, based on the other manifestations he brought back just now. He developed a bullet containing silver acid depleting, and once he was assisted, the werewolf would instantly be in blood. He could not get shots after entering the wolf group. He was very satisfied with the zero color. He asked me very much. Do you believe that Rushin is not dead? The weapon expert said, it doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. What's important is that it is believed or not. Although it seems to be inspired after hearing it, he came to the answer, and checked it here. Let this ghost have all the history of thousands of years. Remember this battle between ghosts and werewolves 600 years ago. There is a guest post written on the tree. It will be brought back to the right closed sculpture. Using this as evidence, and as the only person who has the responsibility, he also made it clear in his battle that he successfully became the first person under the three major John Laos. Linda carefully compared it. At this time, he found a little bit of cheat. Xiang Lian, who was so angry that some people were so fierce in the book, looked familiar. Isn't this exactly what the werewolf who was fighting just now? He thought that if some people are still alive, it means class. In Shalina, he felt that this matter was gradually out of control, so he cheated the security guard of the First Elder. Sanzi used his studies to wake up the slump, which means that among the three elders, he had the most strength. These memories of broken water did not convince many choices. After all, the text has been restored to the vampire family recently. The year before yesterday, the commander's plan for wealth was not wrong. The battle 600 years ago was just a good show with Craven, and Ruxian was able to save the bloodline of the Lang clan in the middle of the vampire's feet. Craven also became the second in command for his friend off the ground. The main one who left the room unexpectedly brought back two policemen. These two policemen are the werewolf fake class. Fortunately, Mike is playing the hitter and escapes first. Where can Countless go? Mike pointed. Can go back to Gubao and look for the seductive spirit. I want to know from him what happened to this valley monster. But the spirit cannot look at Mike in this and is so immersed in the world, so I plan to bring it to his own meaning. Under Mike's questioning, S.E. Ling Daji told the story of Zixui and Werewolf. I have received scientific education to buy developments, and I don't believe it all, but now the facts are in front of me. Then the people came to a timely event where one technique was broken. In addition, the atmosphere of English, the two couldn't help but Sue's shoe. Mike was too sad because you had something to do with the fire. He had to leave the time. The city is here at this time. S.E. Lingna also told Mike that he was originally just an ordinary human, and his family was eaten by a werewolf. Fortunately, even though he felt that he was inferior to the Western ghost, S.E. Lingna. Therefore, he was very werewolf, so he was willing to join the team. After a relative, he was very interested in the exam, and the closer he got, but he had to leave. He knew that he would definitely be the leader. Before leaving, Mike wanted to go back with S.E. Linglan and face it together. S.E. Linglan did not agree. He said that when Mike clones, he will be given his position, because tomorrow night will be the night of you people. Mike, who transformed for the first time, would lose his mind and go out to kill people. Before he arrived, he handed a pistol to Mike. Yin Duan and the gun would not kill him, but could stop him from transforming. After saying that, the commander drove back. But what he didn't know was that he had been raised by Werewolf. Of course, he knew that the commander's awakening was too much, and he understood that this woman had begun to doubt himself, and once he let him know his plan. The consequences will not be considered, so Craven notified that if the plan is planned in advance, if this failure is made, then the man will have no place for Fanshi. If you use all the lanes first, you can use them on the other side. You saw the S.E. Lingda reading very much, because it was Marcus who should have woken up now, and he also woke up for 100 years in advance. This has seriously violated the detailed track transfer race, and the regulations for nearly 1,000 years, so the S.E. Lingda immediately turned S.E. Lingda. I was very ruthless instructing me, because Slinner has no absolute evidence to prove that Ruxing is still alive. For Keto, he ordered Craven to make Slina a key point, waiting for the arrival of the female elder Amelia 2 hours ago. If you can't understand any opportunity, you will fully touch the cream on the top of that light and again. Come here for products. Please come here for photos. After exchanging signals with Zielun to confirm that it is safe, Apelia was about to get off the car, but at this moment, the sound of Russian line came. Apelia's face changed, and he finally realized that there was a purchase. But the only 100,000, the werewolf's voice came from all directions like a ghost. They were all in the car box, and the one responsible for the response was just looking at the dead of their compatriots, indifferently. Eventually dissipated. Lazy came to the car that was terrible and bet on, and brought Amelia's blood into light. At the same time, the secret of the rules knocked down the electric exhibition, and mobilized the castle instantly and fell into darkness. Victor. Please also mention it. Hauge's secret still gave Linda a pistol. It turned out that he had always been obsessed with Crandon. However, Crandon only had Linda in his eyes. Hauge's secret. They were also looking for Mike, and the secret of the rules. Turn around and find Craven. Wang Qing Selena escaped from Mike. After hearing this, Craven immediately made an effort to make an unfair call. When he ordered the weapon expert to kill Mike Selena, he discovered it as soon as he arrived at the door. Wang Rinzhen came up, and he rushed into the room and wanted to take Mike out of here. However, from the surveillance, he found that Lang Ren had arrived outside the door. The commander's team pulled out a pistol and fired a trick to design the acid-removing factor belt through the strong combination. After the old man, Sulingna turned around and fetched water glass, so that Mike could jump from here. Mike saw that there was. Can the 3 pieces of soil be saved after jumping up so high? But the next second, Werewolf Yuan Bing opened the door and jumped down after Xia Zhongshuo and jumped down. Unexpectedly, I stood on the ground without any injuries. Before he could drive his body to the phone call, the police car suddenly appeared and said that he tightened his inside without saying a word. When the commander killed the werewolf, he found that Mike had been taken away by the police car, but tonight was Yakahara night, by the way. The police officers who were pretending to be in charge of these 2 werewolves were not 10,000. But they could not let Mike complete his transformation. After injecting a needle into the array, Mike fainted. On the other side, S.E. Ling Lang brought the werewolf to Victor's house. The werewolf is still divided. The emperor of the ancient period did not say anything, but he started to look at it with a trick of Sherlinla. In the early 5th century, he was used to the way he left, and everyone died in this virus, only one named Distress. Kavinas survived the military law. For some reason, his body could completely change the disease and make him interested in himself, so he became the first real person who did not think about it. Later, Kavinas had 3 Cs. The eldest son is a master of the Western Ghost learning. Master Marcus is now dormant under the ancient treasure. The second son is raised by a wolf and becomes a werewolf and is still missing. The third son is an ordinary person. My colleagues, but they inherited the genes of science and culture and passed down from generation to generation. From this point of view, if you learn about ghosts and werewolves in detail, they are somewhat intimate. About the news of Enmelian's death. Moreover, red blood is more emitting than all, so after hearing more, I was shocked. He said that the fierce man was too popular. The client who was still there had escaped for some reason. Under the promise, why did he slap Kujia's house to death in place? He ordered S.E. Lingdot to kill Mike and pretend to be the prime minister. The main point is that Ruxian's other side will be taken to the werewolf space. In a coma, he saw Ruxian's memory fragments again and learned the reason why Ruxian wanted to kill the Western Ghost. It turned out that 600 years ago, Lu Xian and Victor's daughter fell in love and had a love story. The werewolf and the Western Ghost are in contact with each other is a closed-knot version of the existence. After Victor, he thought his daughter. He let himself lose face in the family, so he exposed him to the sunlight and burned him to death. Seeing Iki dying in front of him, he started a war between the 2 major ethnic groups as he moved first to Vanity and Leah to become the most expensive. However, at this moment, the precious guest of the Wu family found this place. Now the only guarantee. The explanation is to get Mike's academic ethics and become a very illicit being. Suddenly, a sound interrupted the conversation between the 2. It was Inka who brought people to kill him, and he picked up the weapons on the table to prepare for it. Ask a guest to ask, he put on a slight note at this time. These old people are just a group of wild beasts without professional business. Soon, you won't be defeated. Lazy takes this. This Amelia's sense of academic work has come back. Seeing Rishing fainted, I realized that I was still one step too late. After splitting the matter, he transformed directly and killed Xavin's number one hand and locked the wheel. But in the end it was still the crude. Give the twisted neck? On the other side, SC Lingna successfully found Mike. Ingmu, who was in love with each other, was temporarily awake, and Rushin saw it. This also reminded him of his beloved wife. However, making flowers makes people feel good. As soon as Mike opened the cut, he met Kelvin. Kolaiwan saw that the rival number 4 is not as familiar as the one. Directly pulled a plate pole and put a few grams of bullet into Mike's body. Kolaiwan wants to fly with Fortin and double speed. For example, I want to see you with my own eyes to end your life. It seems that seeing the forest is so absolute. I tell him an amazing truth. Actually, the forest sentence. It is really important to recognize the lyrics and restore the person who killed the commander's family. It is not the man who trusted the godfather of his most trusted person. Initially, in order to hide his identity, the Ghost Move tribe formulated a mere fact. All academic regulations are required, but why do you never respect your hands and often go out to play jungle? The reason why the dimension leaves a great color is that he and his daughter look a little in company. Hearing this, S.E. Lingda still didn't want to follow. It seems that after the question is rejected, it seems that the sound quality flashed through the bottom of the question, and he had a murderous intention. He suddenly raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at the Shilinga. However, just as the 1,000 troops were fired, it was like seeing him first. This thorn weighed Kraven's speech. Pravenka taught him to return to the island. Lucy forcefully told S.E. Ling that if you want to save the seller and bite him, he can become an extremely powerful return to prison and overcome those things. Looking at the different kinds of Maxlin Paper's good director, if you put all your hopes on Mike, Mike became Slinner's courage, Craven felt for a moment. With the fish light coming from his head, he could only find the things on people, and the Wolf King fell far away. At this time, in order to find more here, he flew out the bell line and inserted it into Mike's repair. The state-owned assets were raised, and Mike was mixed with the 7 werewolves, and the songs were numerous. The pages of the 5 spikes were extremely angry, and he waited for the sound of reason. Mike was extremely sad and was spreading the common people. Then he turned his head and asked Ziluan Dake's comments on the article. If you are sure, Ding Jietang is still as beautiful as water. Seeing that things were going down, why did the cry start to sound? He believed that the ability of Z and SEZ Zen's immortality was enough to eat its whole family. Just as the two talked to Chi, the distance was changing with Ari Mike. The eyes turned as dark as the vampire, but the werewolf characteristics began to appear in the body. But it seemed that because the mysterious power was suppressing it, it completely transformed. When the Waka heard the movement, he looked in the pool. There is no doubt that the middle is empty. The next second, Mike appeared silently after the sound of how many sounds. At this moment, Mike exuded a heart-warming aura. He has the effort to surpass the vampire and werewolf. The speed and strength have increased countless times, and their eyes are 0, such as the same end, and the two of them instantly unfolded the station. Mike's deep star is like a dot, and the extreme round is over, and the river dances. Victor was helpless. However, Jiang is still old. Victor, who has lived for thousands of years, has rich combat experience. In the final period, he remembers Mike in water and has a great color. When everyone saw this scene, they rushed toward this place. When they got close, they were indeed expected to see that this opportunity made Mike break the battle. So why did they take the opportunity to break up from the side? Then the Bo character of Mike who died privately. If he wanted to kill him, he would be killed. The new Love Sands would be killed. The common color of the color spirit was not reduced due to the common ground. The hand fell to the ground for a month. I can take up the next time I want to deal with it. But before he can take action, his head is still in the future. In an instant, they were divided into 2 halves. After that, The elder of the Shishu ghost who had been in many stages was completely upgraded. Selena and Mike were finally safe. Their eyes were filled with the awakening of the knot, but the darkness around them. There are still many werewolves hidden, but when these werewolves saw Mike, they all looked unresided and retreated one after another. At this time, the seductive spirit always feels a little bit when seeing the appearance of the heart on the ground. When he was going to cut these 4-layer boxes, he started to sing the net with Mike. On the other hand, the soft man scientist died above the Marcus drama, and his blood was left in the same level as Finchie, and it was broken. The glasses of the vampire and werewolf were mixed, and the wolf was still looking at it. Now, Craven has killed Elder Dark Villa with a werewolf in order to seize power. And he rushed to the 49 and the 49 owner, and the 49 owner knows it well. The only way to kill one can come to chase him. The TV is to wake up and become a sleeping vampire Marcus. The truth that one can be sentenced. They must want to kill Marcus' soul while he is not allowed to do so. He rushed to Gubao before. Especially Mike and Crandon must not meet each other, otherwise it will inevitably be a serious battle. For Zahn, the two entered a Russian location and flew into the laboratory. The wall here is still undergoing a werewolf's cracking experiment. The SE Lingland brings artificial blood to Mike Silver, and scientifically warns him that he must not try. For him, he would undoubtedly read medicine. Mike promised to take the lead, and let Lin Mizima keep mentioning the words reading online to be guaranteed. However, Crandon arrived first, and ordered his men. The Guan kingdom where Mahusi was born was empty. Just as the surprise of people, the ground suddenly had a burst of energy full of destructive aura and broke the map and lost. It was Marcus who had been awakened by the werewolf's blood. He fused the werewolf's gene evolution and took into account the terrifying intention, and instantly tore the Crandon's manager's army. Crandon was under the scene in front of him. Fortune is not broken, and the full estimation of evolution and resistance will only add to death. The huge advocacy will be Craven. Zhao Laoding was sentenced to the sentence on the wall by Ma Jusi through the werewolf scientist's blood. He didn't even write about his feat, but he had been under tax for 200 years and made him urgently understand what happened during this period, so he was very cruel. The noise won. Kellowan's Boki passed Kellowan's memory. Mega's destiny, for Serdo and Amelia had died. We will strive to formally implement the decision-making record of the sergeant. We will also release the underground company. The brothers joined forces to understand the world, and he knew little about the location and information. All the smallest part of the science and technology. The 4-year-old man cut off one of the keys, and believed that Marcus, who neutralized the memory of the werewolf scientist, found the place where he fought last with Shalina. There is also a review of the subject's memory, and the highest level of the password in the article. It was easily locked in Shalina and Mike and needed. At the same time, on the giant black warrior, the first one, Alishan University, Qin University, and Ma Juz and Wei Feng, was the father of the whole district, and he was the master of his mastery and the whole district for 100 years. He has been dealing with the disaster caused by 2 sons of Diani behind the scenes. Team Ding brought back the test questions on the battlefield, which were for Kido Abilia and the Wolf King Lu Kai and Kawin Naskin. All the fruits are as clear as the heart, but no one can get. I immediately turned to various entities, and I was able to throw the photos in the original position of the murderous original. This is what you do. But the key plant of the microface, which may be the godkin, is extremely solemn. In the laboratory below the Russian Shaojing, Mike thought he was still an ordinary person, so the media used a large coupon group to throw down the snow bag. Walking into a restaurant, I ordered a human food. As soon as the food was eaten, a talisman feeling like a poison made it feel unpainable. The chi in the body was discharged from the distance, which was an abnormal scene. It attracted the attention of the electric spot test soldiers. It happened that the call for Mike was playing on TV. The test soldiers were planning to capture Mike. Mike did not want to, so that he was resisting. A tester rushed out of the third hall and used radio to support the signal. This signal was married by Covena's intelligence department and sent someone to go immediately. At the same time, the SE Lingna who was walking away felt a powerful and familiar breath, forgot the platform, and directly skipped the weather. The SE Lingna who was not very good, quickly and reversed the test and test. At this time, I saw the snow bag he left for Mike. The conflict preview of the visit was previewed. Jibing determined that Mike would not escape. Han Ran opened the wall. The gun came. The death Lin Dashi made Mike encounter danger. This time, the buff was gained. The firepower that was already dense and poisoned in the body made Mike eat when he was in action. He counted the walls deeply. The wall pressed against the king of fish on the sand road. Daddy was brave and easy to run. Finally, he fell to the ground. On average, the color spirit was like a ghost girl from the bottom of the teeth. Pingji Chaofeng's body was instantly removed from the video's weapon. But he did not kill him. Just try it. Let the other party make the way. It is the distance between Bing Jin and the small and big ones using modern walls, which are very cool and staring at each other's weapons. It is a gun flower late, and the other party's plane flew, and found a mic who is suitable for learning ice. Please ask the reporter to turn on the hand switch and let Chief choose his own first choice. At the beginning, Mike was very resistant, and his face was slightly sluggish. Xiaolan Dog did not dare to resist, so he had to obediently blood suddenly landed with his terrifying intention. The powerful bullying of the factory is involved in the video. Facing this true 10th ancestor of the ghost, S.I. Lina, the new generation of great righteousness, it is also a helpless move and willing to seek it. Let him go in McMahon, but said that for your whole family, 114 is not too much, and I have already shown my hand. But from his memory, I discovered your family and your plan. Huaying wanted to read the truth if he wanted to read the truth in detail. His lover was pulled on the wall, and directly pulled the flight to Gatlin class's first apology. Us forced himself to take a step back and ordered the man to take the opportunity to support several pictures. He shown the truck in the mountain guide pool. The driver drove while watching the video, showing his two people on his face. Mike directly transformed into a ghost wolf form, and he would. Truck man Selena opens the car door. Magus chases with terrifying speed with Mike. The fierce attack in the car was carried out, and the blue oil net was beaten. The position did not stop on the other party's body. The husbands all attacked directly, and finally defeated Mike's cigarette after he was beaten. I took the opportunity to hide from it, and the necklace was tightly attached, and I shot down the necklace with one shot. It flew into the air and spread the chicken straight, and the fierce force caused the truck to control it. The three-body SE Ling persuaded to stabilize the direction without any reason for the joint visit. This difficulty can only be used to temporarily live the ministers of the horse crying. There has been no real harm. In the blink of an eye, this belt has become very mediocre. I was about to climb into the car, and I was so cute that I pressed Makosi very much against the truck, rubbing against the mountain, earning the sound of drums, and I wanted to withdraw the mountain drums. But Makosi lost his body and was bleeding. Behind the car, Lin Dashi found Meng Kai's door to escape from here. He encouraged his serious injury, and Mages could not fly anymore, saying that he had given up on the plane. Mike checked and asked, why did Lin Damas be much stronger? Sherlin La said he was not very clear. Another trouble came in the next second. The sky was red and the sun was about to lose. The sun was shining. The sharp sunlight ignited Sherlin La's skin. Mike Xunshin had a body to protect him. Only then can power have a door. Fortunately, there is a 3-story warehouse in front of you, and the truck is loaded into it. Mike Chicken uses oiled chicken through the window, and then uses this step. I felt very distressed to place him in a dark container waiting for the night to watch Lina's desk. Lin Na-Anwei said she was fine, but she was still anxiously looking for the invitation box. When she returned, Lin Na-Anwei said she was fine. I still anxiously look for the invitation box if I buy it. When he returned, Forrest Na-Anwei said that he was fine. I still anxiously look for the invitation box if I buy it. When he returned, Forrest Na-Anwei said that he was fine. Here, Na has already been listed. Mike's relationship made it feel warm and confirmed that it was outside. Mike noticed that Selingna's poem was a little disappointed, such as Marcus, who actively proposed to clean the other side. I found a way out of the mountain to cultivate, and went to the rotation point in the side payment form. It turned out to be a broken drum. I was quickly resuming support. For the sake of warmth, he decided to repair a bowl, and at the same time, the management team of NAS dared to steal Naz's business team. They took away the werewolf test, threw out Gao Bao's cable ties, skillfully erased the traces of the vampire and werewolf, and made it into Qinchi. They were so nervous that they picked up the spices and looked at it. The symbol, outside the above mechanism, reminded it of the familiar feeling, but the toy given by his father was exactly the same, adding enough connections with Lang Group's balls and making the material come out. In order to find out the truth, S.E. Ling decided to meet the historian of Western studies, the black lawyer who may like to secretly record the Elders sect. After being discovered by Victor, he ordered the S.E. Ling General Lu to place him here. Yesen. Our scene is different from 300 years ago. The world is different. The S.E. Ling de Jing Dai pushed the door in. The head above the head shows that Alice was monitoring him. The S.E. Ling de Shuwei felt bad. The floor under his feet suddenly had a thread. MCC had just sounded. A black wolf with a uniform size and a large bed. A certain timid truck. Mike immediately had the influence of the ghost wolf form. The weakest underground color spirit also encountered a black wolf with iron loss. However, this is a black wolf. At this time, another heavy place is flipped again, randomly throwing the place. Jin Jun Ji slaps. Above the pin, Mike grabs the iron face. Let the black wolf wheel rise and saw clouds in the car, and Fenuo broke his whereabouts. The seductive spirit went deep into the prison along the passage. It seemed that you were both female and fierce, but the same vampire was flying. The opponent of the 40th Greater Walker was easily subdued. At this moment, a bullet almost hit the 40th Greater. Chinese appeared with a gun and thought he could make his uncle eat. Unexpectedly, Mike was in the test phase. For the wolf's dizzy form, Chinese gave it to him on the spot. The master of shooting discovered the outer weapon used by the Wolf King Ruxingren in the master. It turned out that they had already educated the werewolf slaves that Ruxingren gave him, and the master of shooting it admitted. He killed not much, but then he put down the keys at the end of the day. He understood that he had already known the truth at the beginning, and bought a beautiful person to look at it. Under the commander's gentle coupon, a dark history of the wind was opened to the past. In the new era, Victor's veteran S was unable to buy a day's life, but Marcus appeared in exchange for the young children to help control the land and the company. Viagra is extremely dangerous and highly contagious. Once infected, humans will not be able to turn back into human form, and will be permanently a violent wild sail, and will be a joined army of Amiria and the Western Ghosts. But I was worried that Ma Huzi would give birth to a son, so I deliberately held him open, and then caught fire in the way of his destruction. In order to kill Walian more, to prevent future troubles, Ma Huzi concentrated on knowing that. One said that the death of the Stone Clan would lead to the fact that all the kings in the next side were not risky, and he had a lot of efforts to do so, so he had to respect Marcus as the elder, and unseen. A prison was built north of Shidi. Israel's father was the creator of the prison. Later, the Een Wolf King Lu Axian got 10 billion of them. He went out to kill him. But because Shlina was too young and very similar to his dead daughter, he took him in. This is also why Ma Hus chased Shilingna, even though he forgot the place of detention. Memorizing the human body is hidden, Mike asked how to stop Marcus from talking to Lizzie and gave an address. In terms of understanding, I have this person who may be able to go to Marcus. Zyalina and Mike have just left. I heard a sound. Before he could wait for his officialdom gate, Marcus broke in. Typing thoughts. Commented on the source of information. One to exchange his life with intelligence. But Marcus used admonitions to enter the other party's body. The Chinese blind man said the information about the time he wanted, but Marcus was merciless. The prisoner in Chinese's mouth, Covenez, Fumos medicine, the market is complicated, the order is the first item to go out, and decided to talk to the two alone, and Selingna recognized him through the ring, and was the first one to be unthinkable. Alessandra Master Qin, two people fond of wisdom, Master Qin, why are they capable but not stopping their sons from being vicious? On the contrary, Haofei's resources should be very few. Master Qin's anti-national saying is really a war, and he doesn't want to speak. That's not your child. I don't want humans to suffer disasters and can't bear to hurt my sons. And 40 now, you have been a family revenge for 600 years, and you are not trying to show your innocence. The two sides finally. Marcus overseas Chinese ascended the battle stairs. He first solved the position on the plywood, and used the drums to pour it through and out of the room. With the historian, Chinese's academic home floor. Ma Hus, who was the trademark sound, separated the two and suppressed Mike and did not give him a chance to transform. He also had a very spicy method and listened to Mike on his companions in a cruel way. Finally took away the same line. The Israel line enters the door. From the room, when it felt, Mike was seriously injured and unconscious, and a few were crazy under Feno. Marx's dress diving to avoid, 10% off, very fast. The person who used the previous flow forced into them came out of the photo and replaced the Zhongyu. Huantua Se Lingna's palm was fixed in midair. Blood flowed into Ma Zusi's mouth in an instant. The vigorous face clicked on the observation method. The Se Ling could only look at everything in front of him weakly. While Ma Zusi's memory, the Se Ling man was holding a gun at nothing. The head in front was continuously designed. Shirtong's horse company let go and retreated. He was unintentional to fight. From leaving Slinner, he had no breath between each other. He cut off and started to sell. He learned to enter the microphone's mouth first. But there was no response. The sarcastic brief was determined by the fact that the horse company was in the opponent's room. After the horse company was in the opponent's position, it also found that the person wrote it on the wrong side. Restoring human shape and wearing it on the body, the father and son charged again for 10 centuries. I said that I had the eternal heart to predict the future, but I was out of reach. He actually had the heart to let Walian be in the dark for 600 years. But Master Ke still insisted that this is the world of human beings, and that they should not exist as a kind of person. Now that his father is so determined and Marcus directly asked for another 100 medicines, Huan Wan claimed that he would create a new race to become God, but he could ask the warning of his son not to hold any new lines. This sentence, making Marcus completely lose patience, the bone doctor broke through the foreign Dr. Covanastan's love for resuscitation on the wall was at this moment. Marcus picked up the common, and gave his father a deadly doctor. The winners were unable to attack his son, so they could only let Ma Hus take another medicine corpse from his pocket. At this time, the Jinglei team that was out went back, had already obtained 2 medicine corpses. Ma Huzi quickly left, facing him, borrowed his boss's life to surround him, and ordered his subordinates to take it to the direction, but was stopped by Kanasi, and instead ordered his subordinates to bring the forest to Sad immediately. If he died, no one would stop him. Marcus, the only hope was set, but he was too weak now. He could only call his full energy in his studies as the West before the game, and his studies flowed into the skin. Slinamri felt the huge vitality in her body. A trace of energy that was replaced by the elves flashed in her eyes. The power of the group was indeed extraordinary. After saying goodbye, Slina brought Mike with her one, so the team stepped on to compete. If Yu is untested, he hopes to die with the person he loves the most. As everyone saw it, Kavenas, the legendary unthinking person. In the end, he chose to be a self-centered person, and the lawyer always had Ma Jews. A word of the memory of the seductive spirit absorbed blood and found the prison where Guanya Weiwei's face. He combined 2 medicine stones and put them underwater. The last gate of the Ao Chao opened the last gate, which rose as the lie of the master. Seeing the Tongguan where he was looking for respect, the commander's team also arrived above the supervision. He found a nostriloscope after activates the power in his body, and his lifelong life is getting into the cold sea water. The team members were fully armed and followed the climate. The Wolf group had already explained that the last time the company had slept for 6 times. Su Xing, who was sure to buy the connection, let Wei Lian recognize each of the 4 forests. The vocational rushing into the outer layer of the dungeon and following the memory of the vocational 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 vocation When S.E. Lingna felt the peripheral position, he was suppressed by the firepower of the Wei FAI team and forced him to retreat. He was about to pursue him, but the horse suddenly attacked from the side face, and he was one of them hiding from the siege. Our permanent walls have not been achieved. Jingju have found that the other party had already written a play. There is actually Yuli who fights back on himself. The horse story suddenly exerted force to turn the forest into a strong shape. The forest is large, stabilized the corner of the town. The left and right Hubo retreated the Marcus aircraft, turned his head and gradually returned to the gun, and the bullet came out clearly. The sharp breath of Chinma Company restored. This leader looked upward and put his hands into the water. When the door was closed, it was a pity that the last step was graveled. This leader was also investigated. Turning around and joining the battlefield of William and opposing aid, he was furious by Ikulin's prophecy and turned into a more powerful ghost wolf mixing within a few seconds. He insisted on being strong and could not trap the child. However, no one noticed the helicopter. The blood vessels of Mike-Gon River are surging again. Shinzan, who has been stopped for several hours, began to jump and hide from the black through hole. Someone is fighting for the battle. On the battlefield, the commander led 2 people to meet and search for Walian. 1 person. The 40 navigation reaction was quickly reflected, and the difference between Wei Li and Song suddenly appeared behind Xi Jinping. Wang was shot into Wuxia for half of the Wuxia. The 40 navigation was one-handed before constantly looking for Wei Li and design. But the other party is real. At this time, the pen is in the back of the Israeli line. The firepower of the 2 guns is doubled. When Israel approaches, it suddenly launches a counterattack. Israel is a high-profile, flexible and can escape. Weak ground. It was instantly changed to Danjia and continued to suppress it. Walian kept getting more and more properly in the air, and the bullets quickly approached. Slin Law escaped from the special bomb micromark, predicting Walian's position, but it was just scratched. After getting to the other side, Wei Fang successfully escaped to the opposite mountain block. After dozens of strokes, Fei Biao exploded a big move to the top of the mountain and caused a large-scale lighthouse in the prison. Wei's face was hidden again, and the forest was reduced to the ground. Weapon on, beware, Ring tried around. A terrifying scene happened. The captain who was spared by the face of the face tried to break out, and was quickly transformed into the werewolf as he had previously said, being plotted. The humans who are in a good face will turn into werewolf at an extremely fast speed, and will never become humans. The undead will decisively open the wall, but will be transformed by the 203rd aid. Soon he was surrounded by Haoguang and Selingna. The resurrected Mike and Muda Selingna were bullied by these wolves. He was furious and was only able to make a living, and he went from the sound machine to the point of falling. The divine soldier, the primitive man, came to the position and noticed it. He changed Becky and cried to pull the small class. He divided it into pieces. He looked at his lover possessed by death. He couldn't write. Before he finished speaking, Wei Lian suddenly attack. The flying mic, the commander used super strange skills to shoot phone comm, and the sound machine above also used the zero-screwed fate. At the same time, the railway formed Mahuzi, in Manli, Taichi City Gate followed the sound of the training without Lian. When he arrived at the main battlefield, his younger brother couldn't bear to read it. He earned the soft sound of the helicopter and pulled it down with the hard sound. Selina avoided the helicopter that was getting out of the team and just got up. He was knocked toward Luo Xianzhang, who was spinning at high speed, and the difference was 0.0 million Hongfen, and his head was almost protected. Mattis seized the opportunity and asked Lin Logui again to choose the midterm. You can fight with the 2 of you. I go all the way. On the other hand, the private killing of Mike and the unlucky company is more accurate in terms of blood type, and the interests are paid, and the military immediately goes through a short period of time. This storm was obviously more exhausted in terms of excitement and strength. The strongest blood was indeed not covered, and Marx did not realize it at this time. Their position has changed violently. This leader catches the winner of the exhibition mark. The main book was pushed to Luo Xian, and he directly missed the other party's unanimous criticism. Mike also motored the trick of the micro-faced routine, suddenly jumped up the shoulders of Xiaowei's face, bursting out all his strength, tearing off half of the routine, and witnessing the death of the ground. Ma Huzi was passed by the score of the old age. But the color age at this moment has long been a fantasy of ancient times. He broke the head and broke the drum and broke the backhand crown and got off the car, and he didn't give it right. When any chance of spreading to the west and taking the opportunity to crash Marcus into Luo's two major races, the sunlight penetrates the abandoned area and spreads down. I can be safe in the sun. This may be Covenus's last loss, and the self-control of the internal water will not be controlled. For the first time in hundreds of years, he felt the warmth of the sun and was involved in the play. Newborn Selingna newly ecstatic with Mike, just use it. Since the 10th Patriarch Alessandro was killed by his wife Magus, the two dark races werewolf for the vampire were everywhere. These two hidden periods exposed the potential number of infections, and the market increased. Dr. Yagan publicly claimed that it was poisonous. There was no medicine. The antigen technology company he established was Longduo. The right to detect infection. Whoever lives and dies in Handing is the entire city. The military used fatal additional lamps and silver acid-selling drugs to clean up the entire city. This Rena and her lover will choose. This generation of buyers has become the target of this cleanup. Faced with overwhelming new armed forces, escape is the only way to survive. Just as they were about to leave, they chased ice and suddenly treated the high building under the moon. Next, hide ingeniously. The other eye spreader was split. In the fatal tongue, this lord falls between the strong walls, and the 720-degree spiritual anime flips over and avoids the flames. All hands throw high explosive bombs and accurately hits the ignition system. The horsehead who agreed to meet Mike waited at the orthogonal level. The popular man didn't know he was surrounded. Forrest now felt at full speed, just met video box. The silver belt on the market was exploring and correcting it. His warning just now came out. Mike sensed the crisis. The instinctive electric werewolf counterattacked. But a missile coming from the silver surface directly turned red into the sea. At zero, Na desperately jumped into the cold water to rescue him. Mike was unconscious. He pushed against the clear battle cloud above, firmly wanted to love his lover. Once it was not mixed, take a sip on the outside. The special cable tied that one was injured, and the explosion exploded when Sherlina touched Mike. The dazzling light and huge pain were seen for the last moment, and then Sherlina took care of a mysterious organization. In the cold light, her career was suddenly broken by Chang's death. The security guard was chasing a person crazy. The man fell from the police room and understood the program secretly. His body temperature instantly showed coldness. It can no longer suppress its use, and it explodes violently, falling from it based on the perfect and blindly unblind animals. But the awakened S.E. Lingna memory film is in chaos. The clearest picture stayed 12 years ago, that one. Until now, in the chaos and drama brought by Jiedong, someone realized that they shared it with themselves and tried it, pressed the Jiedong button to change the security guard who was the intruder. The body quickly adapted to the temperature, and shattered glass expensive, took away the blood, and the iconic black skin. The experiment was B2, Yago did not feel it, ordered the release of the horse, the thinnest body, set up the map of Lina City to open. However, the anesthesia device in the Nomi area is two system. When 1,000 troops are used to make the machine, he will instantly disappear from the spot. Two frightened doctors came back to their senses last time, and the spirit of the soul. Fallen from above, facing one of the doctor's sneak attacks, he has already resolved the speed of the lightning shift. Commander's memory is still stuck at the moment, when Mike Married Man explodes underwater, watching the wind. The security guard who uses quality is in charge and the fire of Fenno in his heart. All this is too chaotic. Good night, chasing closely, but the commander suddenly ordered to stop chasing, and the voice came from the Intercom Foundation. The experimental subject No. 2 has escaped. No. 1 will take us to find Shilingna and jump off the platform. It is dark when it lands. Your strength has not recovered, and your appearance is unstable. You can't force yourself to catch the transporter's blue kid and hold on. The driver killed the commander of the general and threw it out, escaped from the prime minister, pulled the flight, and ordinary bullets. It was invalid for him, and the driver was paid by the spirit and shaking his Boeing. He cracked it and needed Suyi to recover his strength. He found a piece of clothing on the field. Under simple tailgate, he discovered the humans seriously. He came to the horse head in his memory, and only Fube Wangling was left here. Se Lingna jumped in and the policeman who started the move told him that 12 years ago. It's closed here. Israel is cold and it's been 12 years since the police's award-winning machine suddenly remembered that 11 was afraid of an invasion at the exit of the 39 underground passage. The most disgusting thing about hating Dijiji is finding similar people and finding out what has happened in the past 12 years. However, just approaching exit no. 39, the test was forced to share again. He saw clearly. Every sound and shadow are being hunted by the police. Seabass, the policeman in charge of this case, is an expert in handling the situation, and the judgment of the emergence is a subtle trough. At this time, he received a notice from the command center that a reporter claimed that he saw the monster escape from Kang Yuan's experiment, and then noticed the secret eyes of the 4 sharp men, waiting for him to be on the front of the platform. The clever man disappeared, and there was another person who found out that Selingna existed at the same time. At the same time, the 2 divisions stood in front of the broken ice gate of Selingna with a serious expression, and their subordinates informed Seabass. Ask him to visit. What happened in Bath Juwen Laboratory? 2 assistant actors formed an experimental subject and escaped, and 1 died. Seeing that Base didn't believe it, he immediately miserably counted his son's death from an infection, emphasizing the study of pre-preparation methods to protect people's comfort. As the person in charge, we must ensure that everything is foolproof. Agab's answer is low, and he is not exposed. Yuan Hua's experienced Seabass has no choice but to leave first. Deliver. Remember to monitor the street pictures thoroughly on the ground. Photo proof. Yekbu is talking. Seabass. Eyes. Royally is a treasure secret. Van Lina found the doctor who let him go. He chose him in a single sentence. A crash, the truth of the road. After Qi Lingna got the information, the doctor must have let him go. Qi Lingna really let him go. As the skyscraper went down from a high building for a month, the test triggered again. The experiment number 2 was nearby. The Redstone police were about to discover it. The master fell down to the entrance, and a mysterious man also knocked on his tail. Suddenly, he was discovered by the werewolf who was going to the water. He was found in Taubar by the wolf in the forest. The person talked about the identity of the vampire and told Selena. After cleaning, the werewolf who had sex was hiding in the sewer like a rat companion, enduring the pain of the machine and not daring to step on the ground. It seemed that there was a more terrifying existence suppressing them. Welcome to Ganglu and San Lingna. Appear here. The werewolf has discovered the experimental subject No. 2. The heart with a big color is like leaving the front. The source of the conflict. The gun-raising association. The werewolf. When he sees the whole thing clearly. When talking, the serious family was undoubtedly a little girl. As a certain person, he confirmed that he felt the depths of learning to buy, and was very excited. The commander reminded the commander that the werewolf in the sewer would not be clean when he saw that the 15th was not allowed to go up. We were about to leave quickly, and then the old man chased after them as soon as they set off. Salina uses the Home Layer Pro pistol to kill the Unity werewolf. This violent and college hand. The other 4 Lina instantly lied that she had a break from the relationship with Mike. After the 3 of them fled, the 2 sons were parked in the middle and looked at the dead werewolf in a quiet silence. Returning back to the human figure, randomly, cart plowed up. In the card displayed by the radio wave, S.I. Linla discovered that the little girl had powerful power but could not desire herself. The Lee suggested going to their secret. Counting, training ball therapy, Selingna training girl's name, the girl's weak answer. I'm calling one is the experimental subject number 2. She looked at Selingna and you are number 1, my mother. It's me who released you, she explained that he heard the staff discuss that he had grown up and the next work was about to go through. The mother next door would never know his existence. The extreme fear made him awaken instantly. Consensus ability and strength saw the end of their career order to rush out and press the button to understand the winter. Fan Lina Shinto Jushima, she asked her daughter if she had seen her father's career. and Fang Lina was afraid of memory. I was suspicious and grabbed my daughter's arm and bit it down. There was indeed no trace of Mike. I drove the car to a wasteful construction site. I passed through the water barbarian and drove a floor first in the deepest place. If I use a special branch to hit it. He opened his body to the underground and entered the marquee. At this time, he spoke in a word and breath, and walked downward with a vertical lift, entering a giant domed space transformed by Fiki Fang Gongdong, and participated in the detailed learning and art tribe. The mouse squad, the dog's face is broken and the glory is no longer there. Ling Daozhi is the father of the Daquan, and he brought his son back to outsiders, and the old Quan is very unsatisfied. Because this also increases their risk of exposure, and he faces the enemy. I recognized Selena as a treasure house at first sight. The Death Walker of the Western Ghost clan for hundreds of years was also the verdict of the two elders. The most detrimental resulted in the decline of Western Ghosts. When did they leave immediately? The father, whose stomach was interrupted, insisted that he knew one in his life, and found that one in his life had the ability to be a student in the cloud. But it was extremely classified because he had never been with Shwet. What was even more amazing was that he had no forgiveness on his body. This guy has the characteristics of a vampire as soon as he speaks. One song makes one suck blood and one sucks and has the ability to resolutely wake up. And his eyes actually showed a vampire and werewolf mingling. Characteristics of he the commander saw it, and confirmed that the clothes were his and Mike's daughter. Huge sadness and the maternal love he ate made him suffer. He remembered the mistake he wanted to see with Mike 12 years ago. On the last side, the Great Lord found Shalina, and said comforting in saying that the deathful heart is the idol in the hearts of this generation of young Hay blood devils, a symbol of power and hand guardians, and the clan is now empty. She called her a post, but she would never have thought that Jiayun had been away from the world for many years. There is even a legend about the world of learning. It has gained a group of secrets, and the clothes recovered late at night are for seeing in the hall. The old man who was Feng Fu of the month immediately analyzed his identity. He is the only one who is immortal, has great pressure, is a master of Qin, and is the only one who has full vocational skills. But when he saw the Lingda, he knew it was a mess. For troubled old clothes have been restored, and again asked them to leave that night. The old man protects the full and stable selection, and sets the little face that looks at his daughter's hidden white but full of one. In the heart, the soldiers completely melted, his corruption, his face and his clothes said gently, I am your mother. His clothes are red, shocked, randomly covered by the joy of his brother, but warm. These moments are interrupted by the warning of clothes, and the audio service is approaching, and the forest lets the clothes stay here. He does not allow any audio service to disturb their reunion at this time. The great person is excited and ignores the old person's strict graduating coupon. The request to preserve strength was to take up weapons and prepare for battle. Lao Wu was not at all difficult, so he could only organize Lao Ro Fury to hide in a deeper CO refuge, while fisting those who are also young and bully the sincerity. Don't be killed in vain after learning the 7th track. Yesterday, when I went to the Ice Dark Institute for Western Learning to travel passionately, but under the combat theory, I decided to take the clothes and take the initiative to lead the human pursuers away, just as they were about to move. They made a mistake in predicting that they quickly replaced the werewolf bodies that they won. The small Luo caves far exceed the sewer. The man in front of the door of the group of people who were preparing to hold his daughter, but was getting dressed. The distance was very precious, and the mother was injured. The government was furious in an instant, and turned into a dizzy form of ghost wolf. The color spirit tackles the other werewolf under the steel. The blue pillars drive. The color spirit tackles the personal travel path, looking for an opportunity to fall to the ground. Compared to fate, my sister's Jianxi War Palace, a werewolf who quickly criticized the island to attack a pair of werewolves, a young and powerful position, and first experienced the cruel battlefield of learning and reviving. Being lucky, the commander would be reduced to a heady person. The werewolf cleared from the river. After the golden hole suddenly had a look of the eyes, a giant wolf as huge as Shaoshan Chiu showed up. The big color could not believe that he still stole it except for the wolf group's micro-connection. Once I saw such a huge werewolf reminding me that the color spirit could not even pass through his screen hair without firing bullets. The giant wolf came out violently. The color spirit had to fly and land and roll in the moment. He seized the prophet recognition and followed the trend to break the situation and stood up with 2 palms. The color spirit did not give the opponent a chance to pass the details. He borrowed prophet and helped the attack again. However, he found that the 2 mouths on the giant wolf's back thought that the moment he landed on the ground. We completely met the river. Just when the Great Sutra of the Lin Disu was in a huge prison, he turned around and took a lot of money to get out of trouble and fell into a coma. When the Great Su wrote, the Great Su wrote, the Great Su was also in a mess and survived. Lao Ryo is in his old businessman. The big boss, Shan Bing, died. He works together. His clothes are caught. Israel chased him out like a wind, but he is still 1 step late. He goes back to the shelter. The big boss is angry and twists his lifelessness. And being hurt by the country made the commanders out of control suitable for the old stomach. Don't you understand what clothes mean to the Western Learning Conference group? It is full of pressure, and the only direct selection of the 3 major direct selections, and the old stomach is calm. The pain of death when you were in the middle of the journey, your way has caused us to be killed and injured countless times, and my son has also died. If we are going to learn these products, do you want to learn the last bit of trouble for you? So, let's go to the top. He cut his palm and walked his hand deep into Doijeo, and only held his heart. Xi Jinping experienced a series of severe tone, and the wound met at a speed visible to the naked eye. The 10th ancestor of the aristocracy was obtained by obtaining the power of the 10th patriarch of the aristocracy, which is also the fundamental reason why the Asian ministry seeks respect for him rather than destroy him. And it is also the key to his ability to bear the strong vitality of others. I got a black hit from Arena and River that had been in a long time. That was his iconic battle run as the death penalty, which brought back the dark world when Feng Shengdang's Dark Knight Queen. Selena found Seabass, the policeman who has studied the supernatural world for many years. Out of medical consultation willingness to cooperate, he brought the commander to his office and received a harming truth. Many years ago, the government announced that the werewolf threat was eliminated, and finally, he learned more carefully. But 3 months ago, a friend of his found in the investigation that the 200 people who were finally executed as werewolves were found, and their CAR reduction report was only negative. They were not infected at all. They were scapegoats, 2 days later. This friend was found to have been transferred to death, and the official Yagabu company responsible for these tests was asked to enter the anti-Yuan laboratory in Yagabu and the reduction. At the same time, Yagabu was also asked to join the Yagabu